Okay. So for this whole session or these whole sessions, don't really have a name for whatever these things are. I guess I could summarize it as one session. Yeah, for the session, the way I left it off was I just threw some debug visuals onto both the reach cursor and the twist cursor. And that's kind of how things were left off the other day. And it was pretty apparent pretty quickly that there were some issues. Those debug visuals, I think, are invaluable to really finely tuning these these DOFs. And they're more than debug visuals. They're just visuals. Then you know like what you're doing and how to impact it better. It's awesome. Should have done it way sooner. Thank God we're finally doing it now. But as you can see here, I think I finally got it. Wait, did I actually get it? It's moving too fast for me to tell. I think I did, yeah. But one of the first things that we got figured out was turning the dot product into like degrees instead. Because I was seeing that yellow line was not going where it was not behaving how I thought it would. With the dot product, what I noticed was that before the halfway point, between the two extremes, where either they're both the same or they're both opposite, the two directional vectors, if it was at the halfway point, dead on. That yellow radius went right to it. If it was before it, it undershot. If it was after, it overshot. And I was like, what the fuck's happening? This is so weird. But then what I realized was like, oh wait. Like the dot product does not work the way I think it does. And sometimes that behavior of it undershooting, overshooting is actually ideal, where it doesn't matter. It kind of comes out as a wash. But in this case, it definitely mattered. So doing I forget all the exact terminology. I'm probably going to stumble through it, but something about arc cosine. Then I was able to remove that problem, and now it's perfect. Which is interesting, because the cursor feels better now as well. And I was kind of pointing out, like, I think it was just something that always felt a little bit off, but I couldn't really pinpoint. And then just by doing that, it was clear as day, and the problem could be solved. So the thing I'm working on next was ran into the problem of jitter. Because these two cursors are kind of being essentially like calibrated if they're not being used. They're kind of just set to like a default. The default is just to be right at your hand, right at the center, right? Yeah, just like to be your hand. Your hand is your hand. And then when you activate them, then they're going to do shit. So they're always kind of just setting themselves to your hand. But there's some order of operations problems, and those order of operation problems became a problem because of how data was being managed. So there was a piece that I was kind of holding back on, working on, because I was like, I can kind of feed data, like this input data in kind of all over the place, because all I have to do is just call a pretty straightforward method, then I get it. And then the thing I was realizing is like, yeah, that might be the case, but I'm making these new things as well, where like it's there's handedness that you need to take into account, but there's also there's like now there's a wrist, and now there's a sorry, just thinking about, I think that, yeah, I kind of put a piece that's redundant, but it carries a pattern forward, so I can probably think about that part later. But the thing that I ended up implementing was like, hey, we need to be able to access these wrists and these shoulders, right? And these controllers to fit with that pattern. We need to be able to access it from anywhere in the code, but in the right sort of order, right? And in the right sort of way. Because the issue that we're running into is like you would calibrate, right? But the calibration is working on old data. And the way I kind of got around that before is I think I had like the step go over the calibrate, but that really wasn't fixing the issue. If anything, it made it look worse. So I definitely put the step after the calibration and then made sure that they both had the latest data to work with. And then once I was able to do that, worked great. So this little picture I drew, I was pretty happy with how it turned out. Yeah, the white on black with the pixel pencil looks cool, and then on stream it shows up really nice because then my camera shines through. Definitely gonna do that more often. Yeah. So, yeah, the complications that I ran into by going through that process were definitely fairly involved. But I am proud to say I think I deleted more lines than I've added, so that's definitely a big plus. Another thing I need to remember, and yeah, another thing I need to remember is I need to not filter myself so much, especially with these early episodes. Let's call them sessions. Episodes does not make sense. It's worse than sessions. I need to almost eat the mic for these recordings. With my stream, not so much, but with these recordings, very much so. So I need to, if anything, take my headphones a little farther out so I don't quiet down too much. Yeah. So I think that's a big. I want to restate that. To not filter myself, just pure expression. Not that I won't like develop that and respond to it and fail a whole bunch, but I'm gonna end up in a much better place a lot sooner by doing that, instead of trying to stumble over myself and like filter myself too much. Yeah, I think that's good. I don't really have too much else to add, but I will say, I was almost disparaging the work that I was doing towards the end. I was like, oh, that was a whole hassle for a little payoff, but honestly, no. Like, the code base is better for it. All the cursors are better for it. The functionality we're going to get out of them is better for it. The thing I fixed was not just like, oh, a nice thing to fix. It was something that needed to be fixed. Once it was fixed, it was like all of a sudden this thing that felt glitchy and shitty and horrible felt sharp, precise, calculated, powerful, right? Night and day. Still issues, still things that need to be worked on. Visuals that can still be improved, but yeah, very, very cool stuff. And I need to appreciate that more. So sitting back here and watching back over, I can appreciate the work that went in. Sweet. Oh shit, I need to do something. Fuck. I need to back up the YouTube one. Let me rename. Oh shit. Just put anything in. Okay, now it's renamed. Now I can give it a real name. So this the past one, it would be WebDev. WebDev is what we'll call it. And then I'm thinking for my YouTube channel, I'm just going to only put the 10-minute ones up, and then I will unlist. I think that's what it's called. Delist, unlist. Or unlisted. I'm going to do that for the streams.